This nondescript gray wedge may not look like much from here, but what it represents is one of the coolest cargo ships you've never seen. Let's take a closer look. I'm Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and this is the Imperial Army Transport. Design. The as-yet unnamed Imperial Army Transport was a large, wedge-shaped heavy freighter used by the Galactic Empire. It had a bridge and large boarding ramp at the bow, 4 large cargo bays towards the rear of the ship, and 6 engines at the stern. The bridge section bears a strong resemblance to the Darius G-class freighter to me, though most of the rest of the ship follows Kuat Drive Yards or Rothana Heavy Engineering design language. We don't know anything about Darius, though, so perhaps they are a subsidiary of Kuat or Rothana. Along the tapering front sides of the ship, it had 2 cutout notches per side. The larger forward notches held a small hangar roughly 19 meters long by 4.5 meters tall, just large enough to hold a light shuttle or a couple of non-TIE starfighters. The second pair of notches held 3 hatches, perhaps concealing airlocks, equipment bays, or retractable weapons. Moving further back, the Army Transport's 4 cargo bays were quite large and could carry numerous external cargo containers. It was compatible with the modular containers carried by AT-ACT walkers, though it could presumably carry any similarly sized container as well. Each bay could probably hold up to 12 containers. We can see at least 6 on the outside, and I would think each row of containers would be at least 2 deep, though it's impossible to know for sure. With 4 cargo bays, it would have a total of at least 48 containers. The 2 lower bays could also seemingly be covered up when not in use, and it seems likely that the upper bays could as well. The rear of the ship held its 6 engines, 2 large, 2 medium, and 2 small. It also had a short tail that likely held its hyperdrive and other systems, like that of the acclimator and the venator. Various sensors, communications antenna, and 2 turbo laser turrets dotted the top of the ship, and the bottom held its 6 landing gear, 2 at the front, 2 at the rear, and 2 in the middle just ahead of the cargo bays. The ship's designers in-universe are unknown, but in real life it was designed by artist Junji Okubo, also known as IZMOJUKI, for the Star Wars Visions short Lop Ocho. The scene featuring the Imperial Transport landing on Tau was unfortunately cut from the final animation, but a lower detail 2D version can still be seen in the distant background of one shot. IZMOJUKI was kind enough to publish a piece of concept art for the ship on his blog, and a couple more on social media showing his original 3D model of the ship, which I was able to roughly recreate for this video. I even reached out to him for feedback, and he showed me a couple images I hadn't been able to find that helped me make it more accurate. Specifications. None of the specifications of the Imperial Army Transport are known, as it is a blink-and-you'll-miss-it background ship seen in a non-canon animated short, but with a bit of information from IZMOJUKI and some analysis of its design, we can figure out a reasonable estimate for most of it. According to the ship's creator, the cargo containers it carries are the same ones used by the AT-ACT. From there, we can extrapolate it to have a length of roughly 280 to 300 meters, which is also supported by the size of the BFF-1 bulk freighter and Imperial Gozanti cruiser seen in its official concept art. This would give it an overall size of 300 meters long by about 90 meters wide and 50 meters tall. Its cargo capacity is the only other stat we could hypothetically conclusively determine, as it carries around 12 to 48 AT-ACT cargo modules. The AT-ACT is stated to have a cargo capacity of 5,000 tons, so that would give the Imperial Transport a capacity of 60 to 240,000 tons of cargo, depending on how many containers it had. It could probably also carry some internal cargo as well. The ship was armed with at least 2 dual turbo laser turrets, and it's possible it had other non-visible weapons like torpedo tubes or retractable point defense laser turrets as well. It had 2 tiny hangar bays that could hold a handful of airspeeders, light shuttles, or small starfighters such as the I-7 Howl Runner. The hangars were not tall enough to fit a standard TIE fighter, though it could maybe fit a couple of TIE Interceptors with just inches to spare at the top and bottom of the entrance. The ship could also likely carry several ground vehicles, such as tanks or land speeders, in its lower cargo bay behind its boarding ramp. The rest of the stats for the ship are completely speculative. It probably had a top atmospheric speed of around 750 km per hour and a Class 2 hyperdrive. I would guess it to require 250 crew, and it could probably carry 2,000 troops and another 1,000 other passengers. Finally, it likely came in at a cost of around 7 million credits. History. Sadly, with only one brief appearance, we don't know anything about the history of the Imperial Army Transport. It was in service at least as early as 12 BBY, and one of them was used to carry equipment and forced laborers to the planet Tau. It was probably used as a general heavy freighter across the Empire as well, and I could see it potentially being available on the civilian market too. I would love to see this ship get the spotlight in a future Star Wars project someday, but for now we'll just have to wait and see. And that's everything there is to know about the Imperial Army Transport from Lop Ocho. Please let me know what you think of this ship, and what other obscure background ships you'd like to see covered in the future. I want to thank Junji Okubo for the extra concept art he showed me that let me make my model of the ship more accurate, and just for making this ship in the first place. It's one of my favorite background ships in Star Wars, and by far my favorite ship from Star Wars Visions, so it was a lot of fun to be able to make this model of it, and video about it. I don't know why I find this ship so enchanting, but I've always been a big fan of very industrial-looking ships like the Gozanti, the Darius G-class, and other ships like these. It's been on my list to 3D model for a while, and I finally came up with a good list video idea to use it in, and thus a reason to actually get to making it. But then when I got it done, I was just too excited about the ship and decided it deserved a solo video all about it first. You'll be seeing it again in a list video pretty soon. Stay tuned and subscribe so you don't miss it. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. RFC, out.